Welcome to Money Conversations with KJ. KJ is a lifelong entrepreneur who's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and found his way back again. If you're looking for a sterile how-to, you're in the wrong place. KJ and his guests will walk you through real-life situations told by the people who live them, and they are as messy as they are inspiring. Each episode will offer lessons learned, advice on how to replicate successes and avoid pitfalls, and a new perspective to power your financial literacy. Far from a one-size-fits-all, this podcast can help you build a roadmap to your personal promised land. Milk and honey for some, whiskey and steak for others, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Well, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I'm super excited to have the guest here at my studio. Good friend of mine. We just met, a little over a year ago, I guess. Lisa, right? Mrs. Lisa Hank. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out and doing the show here. I think I don't know all of your story, but I know some of your story, and I think it's really going to enlighten some of the people that are out there listening because, one, you're retired.
Yes.
And you're fairly young for retired. So you can tell them your age if you want to, but generally speaking, you are a young retiree.
Yes.
And so we'll talk about that journey and how you did that and how hopefully that will inspire some people. And we're going to talk about some of the other things, chapters, few of the chapters that are in my training course that'll help hopefully enlighten some of the people out there. But again, it's been awesome to have you come out and share your experiences.
Absolutely.
So let's start with, I like to start almost with the same question. Now that you're retired and you're reflecting and you're thinking back, and obviously you did some things right to be able to retire at the age that you did. And so share with me in the audience your earliest memories of money and when you started to understand what money was for, and maybe when did you start actually making money?
So this is kind of interesting. I'm going to kind of give you the little down low here, Kevin.
Okay.
So I am the youngest of 5 children. My father started a janitorial service. So he was a very young entrepreneur. He passed away when I was 3. Really don't have any memory of my father. So at that point, my mom became a single parent. She actually remarried. We relocated from Los Angeles to Fresno, California, where all of her support systems were, her sisters, brothers, etc. When she remarried, she bought a restaurant, opened up this restaurant, and became the owner of a restaurant. So from a very early age, I watched my mom work for herself. Now, we really never sat down and had a real deep conversation about finances. I just knew hard work equated to monetary gain.
Okay.
So at a very young age, as soon as I could, I started working at McDonald's. And a part of that was because raising 5 children, money was tight. So while she worked really hard, after she divorced, and the restaurant closed down, she ended up being a financial aid counselor for college.
Nice.
And so when it was time for me to pursue my collegiate go to school and college, we sat down and we talked about finances from the aspect of college education and what it was going to look like to have to take out student loans and what free money was about through Pell Grants and what I wasn't going to have to pay and what I was going to have to pay back. But very early, so I'm going to say 16.
So 16. Okay, so you had, again, a single mom for a little while, then she remarried. And like a lot of 16-year-olds, right, we want to go spread our wings kind of thing and go get our first jobs. But before you did that, And it sounded like it was probably a little tight in the household. Yes. What did you think about money? Did you really appreciate the value of money? Did you never give it any thought? And did your mom at early ages, say between 8 and 12 or 14, ever talk to you about money?
Oh yeah, we knew that money was tight. That's why we talked about money.
Okay.
So we talked about bills, and we talked about turning off lights because that light bill was going to be expensive. And we talked about gas, and we turned off the heat, and we got under blankets and got wood and heated the fireplace so that we could cut down on the bill for our for heat. And so we understood the value of $1. And that was primarily because I came from a single family household.
Right. So at 16, you wanted not to have to ask mom for any of your or extracurricular things that we all want at 16, right? We all want, parents at tight households like, I can afford these shoes, and the 16-year-olds be like, but mom, I want these nice shoes. Well, those are more money, sweetheart. I can't get those, right?
Absolutely.
And then that's why a lot of kids go and get jobs at those ages. I totally get that. And so when you got your first job and you started actually making your own check, and I'm sure at 16 you're still living at home, what did you do with that money?
Well, I learned that too. I put my money I had a checking and a savings account. And I put my money into checking, and then I would divert money into my savings account every paycheck I received. And what that did for me is I kind of like seeing the growth. Mm-hmm. And because, again, things were tight coming up, I think seeing that growth in my savings account made me feel secure. Mm-hmm. And so I understood that I needed to put that money over to savings.
So what you're describing is what I like to call the mindset. So at an early age, you developed a very good mindset with money, because most 16-year-olds, you probably can agree, don't, right? They just want to they'll go out there and get these whatever jobs at 16 through 18, and whatever they make, they just spend because they want, material things in life. So you didn't, and you described how it made you feel good to watch an account grow. Yes. I've had other guests on here that also indicated that, and probably because you knew you grew up. It was basically you grew up in a household of what we call scarcity.
Yes.
Okay. There wasn't an abundance of money. I'm sure there was a probably massive abundance of love and the family and all of that kind of stuff, but we're talking about money here. And I want to make sure that the folks out there understand that you at an early age, because of the environment you grew up in, which was a scarcity environment, that you knew your mom worked real hard.
Yes. For
every dollar she made. She had to make it stretch because she had multiple kids, and there was no chance of squandering money at any level. That's a great lesson to learn at that early age. And then you mentioned so you got that job and you open up those accounts.
Yes.
So share it, because there's people out there, believe it or not, that don't understand even how do I open an account? Which one should I open? How much money should I save? I mean, these are all things that we should understand and be taught at an early age. So who taught you those things when you said, hey, mom, I'm 15 or 16. I think I want to get a job. I mean, what do you think? What should I do? I mean, what was the conversation?
I think the conversation is to ensure that you're not spending more than you are saving. And so she said that I had to first, pull that money aside. And I was not very much. I mean, maybe 10% of, because okay. I'm at McDonald's.
Right.
My paychecks were not that much.
Right.
And so I had to take some of that money and put it to the side, and then I could spend this, but I really did understand that you never want to spend more than you're making and bringing home. And again, I think here's what's interesting, and I love this conversation, Kevin, is because, like I shared, this was kind of a learned behavior from seeing what was going on in my household. If you were to ask me, did I ever sit down with my mom and really had a heart-to-heart conversations about the market, about how to save, put your money away. This is how much you want to put it. There was really no formalized training. This was all the things that I observed in my household.
Right.
And kind of lessons learned when mom maybe couldn't pay this bill. We had to take that money and pay something else. But I never went without. I didn't feel her struggle. I now understand it in my adulthood. I didn't understand it really in my youth. But we really didn't have a formalized conversation. And honestly, when we reached out and we said, hey, we're going to sit down for this conversation, I've really been thinking about this, and that is truly the why. And I do believe that some of this is truly by design. And, so I think if you have money, sometimes we hoard that, right? And so we don't really want to share with people how we got there or how we made it, if you will. Sometimes we're afraid that maybe somebody is going to step over us and do better and more. And then I think if you don't have it, there's a little embarrassment about that. And so we really don't talk aloud about it.
I love that you just brought that up. It is funny how talking about money, whether it's with family, friends, a mentor, whoever, it can be both of those. It can be embarrassment. It could be like you're hiding, like none of your business how much I have. And I think a lot of people don't want people to know how much they have because they're afraid they're going to say, hey, can I borrow some? You know what I mean? And I've never had a problem saying, no, I don't lend money. I give money, right? Because I learned a long time ago, lending money is not a good thing. You lose friendships. You lose respect for people. If someone comes to you wanting to borrow money, for me, I've always, if I have it, I just give it to them. Yeah. And I just ask them, do me a favor. You're hurting right now. You're asking me for $X. If I'm capable of giving it to you, I'm going to, to lend it to you, I might as well give it to you because in most cases, you don't ever see it back anyway. Absolutely. And then you lose friendships and stuff, or whoever, that person may be. So I find that for me, for as long as I can remember now, if I have it, I just give it. And I just ask them one thing. I go, do me a favor, sometime in your life, pay it forward. Yeah. When you're in the position and someone comes to you, just give it to them. Absolutely. You know what I mean? No one's coming to me to ask for $20,000 or anything. Typically when people borrow money, it's grocery money, really, is what they want. Probably put gas in the car, pay a light bill, something to that standard, a few $100 or whatever. And so here, I'd rather just give it to you. Yeah. But back to the point of talking about it, right? And it's funny how I've had so many conversations and parents. I don't know why. I haven't had a parent actually tell me why they specifically have a reason why I've never talked to my kids about money because of X, right? I haven't had anybody be able to answer that question. I've had plenty of people have told me, my parents never sat down and had me a good one. But I mentioned to you earlier, I just have that phrase, parents can't teach what parents don't know. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're afraid to teach us wrong. You ever think about that?
Maybe that's the case, and I likened it to, we don't know what we don't know.
Right. And I also think parents, I do have a good friend of mine who's been teaching his kids since they were 5. They're only 8. And do you know, and his 8-year-old trades stocks? He taught him how to trade because he trades stocks for a living anyway. So he goes, my kids watch the market. Yeah. And I gave them each $100 and they got thousands of dollars in 3 years. You know what I mean? And he's very conscious about teaching his kids financial literacy at 5. And for some people, they may think that's too early for your kid, but no, it's not. Again, because it's going to come back to what you mentioned earlier. It sets the mindset with money and appreciation. And once we all understand that money is just a tool, money, all it does is gives us options in life. That's all it does. Okay. You don't need to hang on to it and just to say, I have $X. It just gives you options of the lifestyle you want to live, place, you want to go places, give to charity, whatever those things are that you may want to do. That's all that money does for us. But I think that for some reason, parents afraid, or sometimes you'd mention we don't even think about it. Yeah. We're so consumed with our day-to-day lives, making sure there's food, shelter, clothing for the kids, and they're going to school. And then you don't realize, and we both have older kids now, that man, they were 13 and now they're 25. What the heck happened? It's so darn fast. So, man, I guess I forgot to slip it in somehow. You know what I mean? That's good. Again, I think that's a normal story with you and your mom, and it's very normal that you had the work ethic came from your watching your mom. Your mom didn't have to tell you to work hard.
No.
You saw that. So you learned it just through living and watching your parents, which is for good or bad. All of us do that because not every parent does the right thing, right? And so I definitely spoke with people that my dad was a spender. I'm a spender. You know what I mean? Like went down the same road. Well, that's interesting because mindset is the number one thing we all have to get right first. Without having the right mindset around money, the rest of this is building a house of cards. It will come tumbling down at one point. So really, truly understanding how to think and act different with your time and your money will elevate you to have some sort of financial success, whatever that may be. And it's different for everyone. And there is no right or wrong.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So if you think back, you had your job at 16 and then you went to college, a couple of years later, 18, 19?
I went to school. I graduated young. I'm not one of those September folks.
Right.
So I graduated 17. I was in college. And here's the thing. In college, I had to take out student loans. I knew I was going to have to pay back those loans. I worked 3 jobs while I went to school because I had to pay for as much as my education as I could. So I got jobs at the bookstore to help. Now working at the bookstore, I got a deal on my books. I taught CPR. You know what I mean? So now I get some units and credits, and I also get a paycheck for teaching CPR. I worked graveyard at juvenile hall, so that I could go to school during the day. So, I had to work.
You had to work. Well, we all have to work, right? We all have to start somewhere. We all have to earn that dollar to be able to do the right things with that dollar first. But so what you talked about with that student loan, so that was the first time that you created debt.
Yes.
And debt is a huge problem in this country, especially student debt and credit card debt.
Yep.
Right? Can you remember the first time, besides your student debt was by design debt, you wanted to go to college, didn't have the funds, had to go get the student loans. But what about credit cards? Do you remember your first credit card?
Oh, man, I'm sure that it was within that time, and I'm sure that it was overextended because I didn't, you know what I mean? I'm trying to, you're a rabbit beater to bait ball. I stayed in the dorms my first year, so my sophomore year, now I'm off campus. I'm trying to do an apartment, so now I have additional bills. So now I have utilities, and and now I'm buying groceries and all of those things.
Right.
And so I'm sure by my sophomore year I had a credit card.
Yeah.
And then they send them to you as soon as you're
students
in
get them. Yeah.
Yes.
Students, they just send them to the students. So I want you to think about this because credit cards are a really big. It's a big topic in my program because if you listen to someone like a Dave Ramsey or even a Susie Orman, which are financial advisors, very well known, very well respected. I think they're unbelievable people. They both say, credit cards are bad. Don't get them. Right. I have a difference of opinion on that, especially this is 2021. And in any time we want to go buy any kind of a big ticket item, we have to have good credit, right? We have to be able to leverage credit to get the things that we want. No one's paying cash for houses, right? No one's paying cash for today's cars because they're all $50,000 or more dollars, right? So we got to get loans. And I don't like the term when people say, well, credit cards are bad. Right. And I say, credit cards are not bad. First of all, a credit card's a piece of plastic. So you tell me how a piece of plastic's bad, okay? It's the people who use them irresponsibly that make people think that the credit cards are bad. But credit cards can be and are a good way of saving money, leveraging wealth, and actually protection against your dollar. Because fraud in this planet, right? And I'm not saying the U.S., the whole world, fraud it's gone rampant, right? People are attacking accounts left and right. And so I taught my kids that Your debit card stays at home. You walk around with your credit card, one or two or whatever you want to have. Because if you lose your wallet, your purse gets stolen, or whatever those things are, if that thief, whoever took that, takes whatever cash you might be carrying, and I always say just limited cash in your wallet, $20, $40, and they go rack up these credit cards, guess what? That's not your money. You're not out anything. But if your debit card was in there and that person drained your account, you're SOL.
That's it.
It's when money's gone.
Yeah.
Right. And so I teach my kids to pay for everything on their cards, and then just pay that card every time you get a paycheck. You pay that card because it's money you were going to spend anyway. Gas, food, your power bills, whatever. And you might as well do that. Leverage the credit card companies by the benefits that they'll give you through miles, points, or money cash back.
Yes.
Right. And I know plenty of people I've taught this lesson to. I taught this lesson to my nephew 5-6 years ago. And his credit's great. He pays everything on his Amex card, and he goes on vacation twice a year, all on points.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I mean, airline tickets are paid for. And this is all by just paying you, I like to call anyway bills. I know I'm going to pay all my utilities. If you got a car payment, your food, your gas, this is money we're going to spend anyway.
Yes.
Leverage, get those perks.
Absolutely.
It's worth it. And pay that credit card off at the end of the month, because people go like, oh, the interest rate's real high on those cards. There is zero interest until day 31.
Absolutely.
It's free money.
There you go. Now, I didn't know that. So I do that now. But back then, at 18
You don't know any
years
better.
old, I didn't know any better. And so everything, just as you spoke about, everything would go on those credit cards, including all of the wants. And so then when the bill came, it's like, okay, now I've overextended myself.
Right.
And now I can't pay that. And so now I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah. That's where education about how credit cards really work. I mean, my sister called me earlier today, asked me a couple of silly questions about credit cards, but it's just it's their game, it's their rules. And if you're going to play, you got to know how to play the game.
You have to know how to play.
And if you don't learn how to play the game correctly, you are and will get hurt.
Absolutely.
And next thing you know, you will rack up debt.
Yes.
And you're in a pickle, and now you're like, holy crap, now I can't do anything for the next whatever, depending how big your debt is. It could be years because it's going to take you that long to pay that stuff off.
And it did.
Yeah.
And it did.
And it did. So, but now you know.
Yes.
Right? Leverage those cards. Keep those debit cards. I mean, again, there's so many thieves out there. It's crazy on every level. I don't need to tell you that, what you did for a living. It's craziness. Did you have, during those early years, let's talk 18 to let's say 25, did you have a mentor at all?
No.
No?
I would say honestly that my mom was the person that I looked to and would ask questions, and she would be very candid. If I messed something up, she would kind of walk me through how to fix that. But keep in mind, my mom passed away. I was 26 years old. So at 26,
you're on your own.
I was on my own.
So were you proactive then about learning some financial lessons?
No. I was overwhelmed with debt. I now had, I figured out a way. I worked after I graduated with my undergraduate degree. I had a lot of debt from student loans. So now I go to get my master's. I work for the state. So the state actually paid for my master's degree. So
Nice.
I did not have to take out additional debt. But now I'm finished with my master's. I'm on my own. There is no going back home. There is no, Mom, can you loan me? I'm on my own. So I had to figure this thing out. So now I am, in my mid-20s, and I have a lot of debt to pay back. So that's when I relocated from California to Las Vegas. And I began working with the police department.
Right. So, and again, this is, I think, a very common, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very common path for a lot of folks where where one, you didn't have a safety net. I call a safety net. A lot of kids will have safety nets, till they're 50, 60 years old. I mean, you're fortunate enough to have your parents live that long. And so there was no safety net, and I can understand that. When I haven't had a safety net and I can't remember, but, and when it is on your own, and for some reason, like we talked earlier, when you were younger, it was a little bit taboo to talk about money, right? Like then you're at 26 and mom's not around. You're like kind of intimidated or scared to talk about money, your money, with somebody, whether it had been a professor at school or maybe a boss at school or at work or somebody, right? And I just asked about a mentor because a lot of people do, and sometimes they don't realize it's a mentor, but it's someone that they've leaned on, right? Yeah. Later. And I think mentors can really help people. And if we all have a chance later in life where we are now to mentor people, because can you imagine if you had a mentor after mom was gone that could have, now this is someone else that's helping you guide the ship, so to speak.
Right now, as I'm sitting here reflecting, when I came here to Las Vegas, I stayed with a family member, a cousin of mine. She is financially astute.
Okay.
She has it together. And I watched her. And I really wanted to emulate what she was doing in her household. Mm-hmm. She was a saver. She paid her bills on time. And I think that was the first conversation that I really had with someone about the importance of your credit. If you mess up your credit report, your score, you're not going to be able to purchase anything. So it's so important that you pay things on time. Mm-hmm. She taught me that.
Which at the end of the day, that's just being responsible, and you're a good person, and we all try, obviously, but sometimes life's directions, like student debt got you where you were, and then typically most people's first credit cards get them in trouble because they get a credit card $2,000 limit, and they think like someone just gave them $2,000.
Yes.
And like, no, that's not what happened, right? But it sounded like back to like when you were a child watching mom, emulating mom's work ethic, and you did that, and then mom's gone, and now you're with another family member, because we can learn financial literacy from many people, right? It doesn't have to be parents. It could be cousins or aunts or uncles, or again, even a boss or somebody. So you learn that watching her, but you still didn't sit and have an actual conversation. Like, I'm trying to figure this thing out, and I see that you're doing real well with your money. But you never had that conversation?
We really never. She pulled me aside. We talked about the FICO score. She shared with me what all of that was and what all of that meant. And but again, it was it's kind of like those drive-by conversations. Mm-hmm. It's not real formalized instruction, but she really did help me to get on the right track of understanding I got to get this debt paid off.
So between the age of 16 and 25, right, and at the latter part, and you lost mom, do you think, in retrospect, looking back, and it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but do you think your life would be totally different had you had a full lesson about money early in life, and then again after mom was gone, another good solid training of some sorts? Did the academy give you at all any type of training? Because I just interviewed, we both know Natalie, and in the service, right? She's in the Air Force, that they give her classes over there about money.
No.
So none of your jobs ever give you any. So technically, you haven't had any formal type of financial training.
No.
Yet you still were able to retire at a fairly young age, which is. Hold on.
Thank you.
No, that's not the right button. I got a clap button in here somewhere. I know I do. No, I forget it. I'll find it. Yeah, that's good for you, but I think you can probably agree that I would attribute your work ethic is why you were able to retire.
Yes.
Your work ethic, your habits. One of the chapters that I teach is, which is actually the second chapter that I teach, is goals and goal setting. When did you really if you can remember, you thought about, I got to go to school. You figured out whatever profession, the degree that you wanted. But when did goals really become a part of your life, of setting goals, and then not just setting goals, because people set goals and then that lasts like 2 weeks, right? But can you remember setting goals and then really tracking and keeping them?
I think when I really began to set goals, it was probably when I became a mother.
Ah.
Because now someone else is relying on me to ensure that everything is taken care of. And I, like my mom, was a single mom, and so I had to get it together.
Right.
And keep it together.
So that's when you started setting monetary goals. I mean, we all have all different kinds of goals, but since we're talking about money, so monetary goals. And so did you create a good habit about setting monetary goals, following? And I like to say, I like to reverse engineer my monetary goals, right? If I have a goal of, some $50,000 whatever, I know I reverse engineer how long does it take me to get that goal, right? So when people set goals, oftentimes a goal is not a true goal, it's a dream.
Right.
And there's a difference between a goal and a dream.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But it's a fact. Harvard did a study on the importance in our lives for everything of writing our goals down. And not just writing our goals down once, but writing them down on a regular basis. So they did a study back in 1979 of a group of graduating students from Harvard, and they had asked them, how many of you have set goals? How many of you have actually written goals down? So there's 3 categories. Did you set them or not? Mm-hmm. Did you, and or did you write them down? And then they came back to them they checked on them 10 years later, and they found that only when they first asked the question, only 3% of the class said, yeah, no, I have goals. I wrote them all down. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. And this is Harvard, mind you. You would think everybody at Harvard, some, pretty smart individual. And 10 years later, they found out that the students who actually wrote down their goals made 10 times more money in their career.
Believe it.
It's just that important. And I think it's a really important lesson to teach our kids. It's a roadmap.
Yes.
It's in our cars today. We have GPS. Like, you asked for my address right today, and you either plugged it in there on your phone or in your car to get here. Mm-hmm. And it gave you a little map how to exactly get here.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly what people need to try to emulate in their lives with money.
I agree.
Create that roadmap, that goal. How am I going to get there? What do I have to do?
Yes.
And that's how important goals are. So for you, and again, and it's funny because you have a great story, the American dream, go work, retire and enjoy life. And I know you're enjoying life, but we'll talk about other things that you want to be doing, because it's not like you're not 85-year-olds going to sit around the couch and just wait for time to finish, right? You got plenty of living to do. So do you set goals now still after you're retired?
I do. And so now I'm married, and my husband is a goal setter as well. So, but we often talk about exactly what you're saying with regards to goals. And one of the things that he often will share is you conceive it, you believe it, you achieve it. So together we will think about what those goals are, and so it's kind of like you're conceiving this thought and this idea. Once that is there, you have to believe that you can do it. And it kind of goes back with what you were sharing, is it's not setting expectations that are simply so high that they can't be achieved. It's actually establishing realistic, achievable goals, which I think is very important for mindset. Because once you can see that I can do this, and you believe in yourself, then you achieve it. So conceive, believe, and achieve.
I agree. I'm just one little thing that I'll just throw in there on that. When we are setting goals, whatever they may be, studies have been done. And the studies say, so let's say, like I do real estate. If I set a goal this year that I want to make $500,000,
yes.
and I make $400,000, am I upset?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
No.
So really the goal setting experts say, set your goals, just beyond what you believe is your reach.
I love that.
Because if you actually reach your goal, you didn't set your goal high enough.
Yeah, that's a good.
You didn't set high enough.
Yeah.
So you want to be about 80% of it. Now, sometimes you can calculate that kind of thing. Like I said, if I set a $500,000 a year income goal and I made 400, I'm still going to be happy, but I'm still striving for the 500.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So now my question becomes, if I've made 300,000 consecutively over the last 5 years, and then I set a goal of this year I'm going to make $1 million,
Right.
but I'm still going to do the same thing that I've always done.
No, you can't do that.
There we go. So I think that that's kind of what I'm talking about is it's setting a realistic goal. And I agree, and I love that, Kevin, and thank you for sharing that with me, because I think that we need to step it up, because it shouldn't be so easily attainable where you're
Right.
not putting in the effort in
Well,
the
because you
work.
won't push yourself.
You won't push yourself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be so outlandish where you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And so finding that happy medium, and I love what you just shared, and that's something that we will definitely put in.
Yeah. And here's the deal with goals. The only failure is if you didn't do it at all.
Absolutely.
Okay, so even if you hit 30% of your goal and if you think you gave it your best, then it's not a failure. And let's go on failures for a minute, because a lot of people will have a fear of not setting goals because they don't want to have a fear of failing, that I didn't reach that goal.
Yeah.
And again, failing is actually a good thing,
Yeah.
because we learn. That's how we learn.
I agree.
Right? So set that goal, whatever it is and whatever it may be. But if you don't do anything, then you really failed.
Absolutely.
Right.
We talk about what that fear is. What is it? False evidence appearing real.
That's
You got to go for it.
You gotta
know
go
what I
for
mean?
it.
And so, and I think that there is a lot to learn in failure.
there is
You know,
for
so
all
you're
of
right,
us.
Kevin.
And,
You're right.
and it doesn't have to be big failures, little
Absolutely.
failures, just
Absolutely.
little things. And the more little failures you have, the better. You're really going to grow from the failures. But just some people beat themselves up.
Well, you're right. I mean, but I think it builds resiliency.
Yes.
And I think when you may not hit the mark and you dust yourself off and you keep going on, you know you can. Mm-hmm. You know you can. And so the next time it happens, it's not just some big surprise where you fall and you can't get up.
Right.
You know, and so we have to be able to pick ourselves up from not hitting that mark.
You used a key word there, which I really have just really in the last couple of years, it's becoming the big word for me, which is the word is believe. Mm-hmm. Our belief systems are so strong that when someone actually believes in whatever this belief is, it's very, very difficult to change.
Absolutely.
Like really difficult, right? And so if someone, never got taught anything about money and then they learned on their own and they believe what they learned was the exact truth, forever truth, which there's no such thing, that can hurt them.
Absolutely.
So we have to be able to be open and changing our beliefs. Yes. That's why I say we have to be open to thinking and acting different with our time and our money in order to reach, these monetary successful plateaus that we're shooting for.
Agree.
Right?
I completely agree.
But I always say, I just want to make sure that people understand there is no right or wrong, because you and Charles are retired, and the monetary amount that you guys retired and you're comfortable, and that's fine. Now, there are people out there that would believe that your retirement is way not enough.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And there are people out there be like, man, I hope I can retire at that.
You're right.
And so it's whatever's comfortable for you, but you guys put in the time. You put in all that hard work for a lot of years to get what you guys have today, and you've earned it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You really did. So I know you've been retired only like a year.
Yes.
I remember your retirement party. What a good time that was. That was awesome. Tell me about your first year in retirement.
Oh, it has been the unexpected.
Yes.
With all the stuff that's going on. But I'll tell you what, it's been fantastic. And you cannot put a price tag on time. With having a 16-year-old at home, I have one more year with her. That's it. And she's going to be going away to college. So having this time, this one-on-one time with her has been great for me. Probably not so much for her. She probably wants me to go back to work. And then I have my stepchildren. I have 4. I have 2 beautiful grandchildren that I've been able to spend time with. So it has been truly amazing. I'm loving having time.
So your retirement, again, you're just a different story, because if I had to go back and look up statistically, how many people retire and still raising kids? That's got to be a very low percentage, very low number. But you started young, and again, you were very conservative for a lot of years and able to achieve what you did. So that's kind of an unfair question by me, like, how's retirement been? Because other than just literally getting up and going to work, that's not what you do anymore. You still have all those other responsibilities. And in most people's minds, when you say retirement, right, that word retirement, which I don't even like that word personally myself, but what did you believe, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, when you were getting close to your finish line, the retirement, what did you believe retirement was going to be for you?
Oh my goodness, I don't think, Kevin, I really thought about it because, I was happy with work. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed the people that I worked with. And so I don't think I really envisioned truly what retirement would be. I feel truly blessed, though, that we were able to put some things in place. There's so many things that I haven't done. I didn't know what I was really doing, but it worked out in the end. As soon as I went on full time and I was on the civilian side, I started investing in my deferred comp. So they had money coming out every paycheck, and so I did that right. Early on in my career, I was able to buy some years. And so I did that right,
Well, let's talk to the audience real quick about that, so they understand where you're coming from. Because, and I bring up retirement because, again, a lot of people out there right now that are listening, 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, and they're striving for this retirement, right? And retirement is a different meaning for everyone. And I want to make sure what they're striving for is the right thing.
Yes.
That's why I asked you, like, I know it's been a year, and how has it been? Because oftentimes we, maybe with our goals or what we're doing, when we finally get there, sometimes it's a letdown. Like, this is it. This is what I've been all uppity about for years, and this and that. You know what I mean? And for you, you're loving to be able to control your time.
Yes.
Which I think is the best part about someone retiring.
Yes.
But you retired because you're, financially in a place where you don't have to go trade time for money anymore.
Exactly.
And I teach that that is, I don't like to call it retirement. I like to call that financial independence. Right? Because we all should strive for financial security first, and then financial independence, and then financial freedom. So some people out there, there's plenty of young entrepreneurs out there right now that have made a lot of money online, right? That could consider themselves retired. Like, picture and imagine when Zuckerberg first did Facebook, it went public, then made the guy, hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, technically he's financially independent and free, but he had a passion of growing a company. Yes. In your case, because I know now you want to dabble a little bit in real estate. Yes. Tell me why you want to dabble in real estate. So you retired your job. You don't have to go punch somebody's clock, but now you're, let me go play in the real estate world. Why do you want to do that?
I'm not done yet. One of the things I share with my daughter is man, find something that you're passionate about, and then, and then go for it. I'm passionate about people. I love helping people, and I'm really excited about this next journey for me. I'm not done. I'm still young.
Right.
I still have a lot to do and a lot that I want to accomplish and achieve. So this is just really an awesome opportunity for me to kind of reinvent myself, if you will, and go a different direction. So I'm excited.
I think, well, one, I think you're going to be an amazing realtor because you have great people skills.
Thank you.
And that's what makes a great realtor, is someone who has great people skills. Because like you said, we're just out there helping people. But if you don't know how to be a good communicator and have people skills, this could be a tough job for you. And then just having a passion for me, it's just because it's different. You know, you're not selling the same house every day.
Absolutely.
It's different. And everybody's situation is different. There is never two transactions that are same, ever. So that's the fun part. But I want to make sure that the audience understands your path, your journey. And so we'll recap here for a second.
Yes.
Where same story, mom didn't really teach you, sit down and learned it. You watched mom and learned yourself a really good work ethic, which is really important. And again, I remember I shared how our kids are watching us.
Yes.
And even if we're not teaching them, they are learning from what we're doing. Mm-hmm. That's why their personalities are close to ours, the way we talk, the way we act, all of those things. I mean, now she's 21, always comes to me. She goes, God, I'm just like you, Dad. Man, why? I said, is that a bad thing? Right? So yeah, they are watching us. Yeah. And so you did that, and you took it upon yourself. You knew you wanted to go to college and get that degree to get yourself educated for a good job. That was definitely not my path. I just cannot trade time for money. I refuse. But it worked for you, and so for you guys out there, that's definitely the journey for 90% of Americans. Go get a job, trade time for money, but now do the right things with that money. Because even you can agree, some of the things that you're learning now, even like, man, if I knew that when I was 25.
Yes, I wish I did. There's so many things that I wish I had, that I knew, and I hope that my daughter coming up will know. Right.
And it's never too late to obviously teach not just your daughter, could be nieces, nephews, your other kids, whoever. Yes. I think it's important that we all give back on some level, and sometimes people can't give monetarily, and that's okay. But if you can give your time and knowledge, I think that's very powerful.
Absolutely.
Very powerful. One last question in retirement and with people out there, because they know as I teach them and the conversations I've had, really, you and Charles are retired because you have pensions, which is very far and few between in today's world. And so most of us have to invest our way into retirement. And you had mentioned earlier how you invested in the program at work and how you bought some years down. So that was a form of investing, but you kept it tight in there. Did you invest outside of that circle at all during all those years?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, it was just my deferred comp. And then when it came time for retirement, I rolled that money over into a Roth IRA. And so now that's kind of in the market. Yep. And we'll see what happens. But no, it was just my deferred comp.
Yeah. So I teach a lot of that also, investing. It's vital to invest. Warren Buffett says, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you will work till you die.
Absolutely.
So we must learn, and you learn that through work, letting you invest in yourself through work, which is a form of investing, and there's a lot of other forms that we can do out there, and understanding how compound interest works in your favor. So, but your story worked out really well. I think you and Charles are great people. I love your retirement lifestyle is definitely one that people should strive for.
Oh,
for sure.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I have wonderful children, my grandkids, my husband. So it's been nice, and I'm glad, knock on wood, that we were able to make some good decisions. I should say, good decisions that were good for us.
Yes.
Because what we did may not be good for everybody, you know, but we made good decisions for us.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, again, thanks for coming out. It's been awesome. I think there was a good takeaway there. Man, there's nothing stronger than a good work ethic, huh?
Nothing.
Nothing. Just get out there, do it. But don't squander your money, guys. Get out there and invest it, whether it's within your own, wherever you work, or you got to go to the outside sources and open up the right accounts and put money to work. Put money to work. It's better that your money works than you work, right? All right, guys. Well, listen, if you like what you heard today, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and if you're listening to me for the first time on the podcast, please follow me on that podcast. Hit that subscribe button there too. Remember, I do a new episode every Wednesday morning. One gets released, and Lisa's Yours will be out in a few more weeks. Other than that, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that episode. Really enjoyed making all these episodes for you. Remember, we're just having conversations with people's journey with money and the things they did right with it, the things that did wrong with it, and how did they really come about getting their mindset with money. So every episode's different. We all have a good takeaway from them. So do me a favor, hit the like button, smash the like button, and subscribe to my channel, because every episode that I do is going to be different, as all our journeys are different. So you guys take care, and we'll talk to you next week.